All right, and without any fancy graphics or anything, welcome to can we call it the cat show? Is that crass? Let's go ahead and get started with a little bit of diving back into the ContainerCraft hobby project. And then we're just refactoring code today. So we can just kind of tinker around with code that already was working, and we just need to actually clean it up and make it comfortable to work with. And just go ahead and get started. So I'm just resuming my code space. I use GitHub dev containers and GitHub code spaces for a lot of what I do. And the Kargo project has uses the ContainerCraft conductor dev container. So it is still loading up. Let's see if we have terminal. So you can see this right off the bat. It is just running a dir env command to allow automatic environment variable configuration. And we should have a Kubernetes cluster going. Yes, we do. Looks like everything's running. Now my code might not work right now because I was just starting in on the containerized data importer. So actually, why don't we take a look real quick at where we left off today. Excuse me. So first off, we jump into the update tweet and the announcement for this particular live stream. Earlier today, we got through refactoring Cilium, Cert Manager, and Kubevirt. And next up, we're going to jump into getting Multis with Cluster Network Add-ons Operator, Host Path Provisioner for the local storage, and then CDI is Containerized Data Importer. And that is for importing various kinds of artifacts, QEMU specific QCOW2 images from either container registries or from web URLs, things like that. So anyway, let's see. Okay. Sure enough. Okay, so right now we need to evaluate main.py 157. So it's probably for starters that CDI is not imported because I deactivated a lot of the code. So deploy CDI, and we can jump straight to it like that. All right. So it looks like this is going to be a pretty basic deployment, but we might need to make a transformation or something like that. We'll just see. So just to show off the structure of the code real quick, if you jump over into the tree navigation, what we have are our root of the Git directory. All of the Pulumi artifacts other than the pulumi.yaml are stored here in the Pulumi directory. We have a source directory, which has all of our different packages that we're using for our deployment. And specifically, we're working on the containerized data importer deploy.py, which is imported into this main.py you see on the left side of the screen. So let's see. first thing we need to do is line up our arguments. We need the K8s provider to authenticate resources against the Kubernetes cluster that we're deploying to. And then in here, we're going to indent what we started working on. Wow. Okay, I probably have too many windows open right now. My system's a little laggy. It's an M1 Studio, so it shouldn't be too bad if I'm running a reasonable amount of stuff open, but I'm not. Let's see. So actually, I indented too much there. So this CI operator URL, that takes the version that is set either manually or with this quick requests function to actually parse for the latest tag. We're actually going to copy something from the Kubevirt deploy.yaml that I was working on earlier today, though, I think. So one of the things that I really like about Pulumi specifically is I get to jump in here and do a lot more with my code. So that it can actually do work for me, whether that's like dependabot type functions where it can go and find the latest version, or just accepting an override that I supply manually. There's actually a more advanced version control mechanism that auto promotes between dev on latest and then test and prod, get version locked to whatever passes dev testing. Let's see. So now we have a login here that should give us the version off of this in the output. We'll use that in a more advanced way when we come back through all of the reworked code and tie out all of our resource exports and versions. And then let's see. So that should be good for setting version if it's not supplied, but we need to supply version. So, and one. So what we're actually going to do is and we're actually going to strip that V off of there because we want to supply it in the URL, I think. Yeah. Let's see what happens actually. I don't know if we're ready for this yet. Oh, actually, we're not. Because I need to go. Okay. And then 2, because it looks like it's stripped the V from the URL. Maybe. No. Let's see. CDI operator not defined. Oh, parent, I see. And what we're going to do here is set it to operator. So what we're doing here, actually, we also need to, what namespace is it deploying stuff into? Okay. So this is something that I'm going to switch out once I have fixed a bug, well, in my code. So first off, if anyone wants to check out the code, copy link address. Let's see. If anyone's on, feel free to say hello, where you're joining from. Let's see. Okay, so right now we are just kind of filtering through our code base, bringing online a little bit more version control into the containerized data importer code base itself. We had it set up to automatically look up the latest version of the CDI and then just deploy whatever that was, but that's not very reliable. So part of this refactor is making sure that I can specifically override with a pinned version of CDI along with all of the other resources that we're deploying so that we can release a lock file and say, hey, these are the versions that are currently tested. That'll get more sophisticated over time. But for now, just being able to declare what versions we're testing with should be enough to keep the community on the same page. And then as far as the actual deployment goes, we have two different resources in CDI to deploy. One, of course, now we have balloons. Great, fantastic. So we're deploying the operator itself, which is responsible for actually taking in your custom resource configuration and deploying the different things inside the cluster that you declare in your config. And then, so that can include like, there's a webhook, for example, for if you are in a proxy service, if you're manually pushing images up, say, I know that with VMware, there's a way to push images up into the hypervisor. You can do a very similar workflow. I personally use a Docker registry distribution method. So we're probably going to be experimenting mostly with images that are already published in the Docker registry. Let's see. And then after we get the operator itself deployed, we're looking at the custom resource itself. And right now we're just pulling one from the released repository. We might end up not doing that and just running it as our, kind of pulling it down as our own resource, custom resource, and then we'll just code it all up line for line in Pulumi. But for now, we're going to use the published artifact. So we can get back into that. Okay. And oh yeah, I don't know if I hit show on the comments, but that is the GitHub repo if you want to look at the code yourself. So right now, parent CDI operator. So I updated the parent. So parent and depends are both pretty useful resource arguments to keep track of. In this case, we're automatically pulling in the namespace. Otherwise, I'd also have a namespace defined in here that we're using. And then I would have the parent be the namespace and the operator be the dependency. Let's see. I'm actually going to do that. which gives me the operator deployment. And then I'm going to say, I could say parent equals namespace, and that'll be kind of a to-do action, is to actually bring that online once that I have a transform working that helps me disable the namespace creation. Let's see. So we can go ahead and try this again. Preview. There it is. It's building out the CDI component resources, and then it's freaking out on deploy line 32. Depends. Oh, whoops. There we go. Okay, so now so yeah, it looks like it is seeing current version of CDI as 1.59.0. So that's cool. So one thing we want to do is set it so that it does not automatically pull versions if it's not necessary. That does slow down the iteration. Sorry, hang on. I need to set up the mute button on my Stream Deck. I also need to work on piping soundtrack audio, public soundtrack audio to the live stream. That would be pretty cool. Okay. So we're going to take, let's see. Let's make sure that it's this code that is giving us trouble. And actually, before I do that, I need to ask ChatGPT for help because I don't know off the top of my head how to split the V out. And this is how I have learned more code than I would like to admit. Let's see. Okay. So good morning, good evening, hello all around the world. It is approaching dusk here. Sun's still up, but it's we had Aurora Borealis the last couple of nights. That was so cool over the weekend. Let's see. I needed to get my version. Okay, so There we go. So now we are isolating. Good Lord. Okay. ChatGPT is dragging today. I can't even say anything though. I at least get coffee when I start the day. So let's see. It's saying we're going to use a little function here. Come on. Good. What? Okay, so we're going to drop another line here, and we're going to say equals. Ooh, I can just do that, though that's cool. But there's also so I guess that is supposed to also work. And then if I do that, I need to go re-add the V to the URL. And then when I record versions, I don't have to worry about that semantic notation. Okay, let's YOLO. We're gonna YOLO. Oh, hey, it's John Harris. I need to learn my buttons. There we go. I got the right button. Sorry, I just set up my stream deck. Hello, John Harris. I should totally talk you into joining sometime just to like speak and make noise and be annoying, and you know how you do. Okay, let's see. So yeah, so many buttons. You'd think I'd be in heaven, but apparently there is while there is not a max upper ceiling for too many pixels, too much nerding after. This is a side project. This is not daytime nerding. This is nighttime nerding. Oh wait, hang on. I forgot. I have to like publish things. See? I'm having a conversation, not just with myself, I swear. Yeah, nighttime nerding. It's a thing. Okay, look at that. We YOLO'd and it worked. So we have containerized data importer, blah, blah. Now, the one thing that I don't know is, do I want to set up any dependencies outside? I don't think we need any Kubevirt CRs for CDI. So I think we should be good. I want to check it though before we continue on. So destroy our kind cluster. This will take a minute. Yeah, see, Leon, I don't know how to run a good live stream yet. We're practicing here, but we're practicing all the things. Okay, so we're going to do a make kind just to rebuild our kind cluster. And yes, I have a Pulumi kind provider, but I actually have to publish it before I can use it. Crazy technical difficulties. Computers should just do the things. Okay, so there was a whole bunch scrolling by. The make target automatically does a Pulumi login, and selects my stack. So, oh no, hang on. We might have to rebuild the code spaces. I've built and destroyed this Kubernetes cluster a ton of times. Okay. We'll try that one more time. From scratch this time. Okay, let's see if I can go to my side camera. Nope, I got it wrong. That's the side camera. I really need to get this right. That's capture screen. That's side camera. And that is front camera. I can do this. I can do this. I swear to God. I'm kidding. I don't think I can do it. I give up. Ah, no. So we are giving up. So I don't have a magical fix for when I get this error. Although, no, it's refused and installing CNI. That's silly. Whatevs. So we're going to full rebuild the container, and that'll be cool. But actually, before we do that, because I'm paranoid, deploy. Ooh, that's right. And because I am the only maintainer on this project so far, help is wanted, by the way. And we are on a branch. Cool. Okay. Full rebuild container. That will just rebuild my code spaces from scratch, and then kind should deploy again just fine. Leon, you are an awesome supportive friend, and it's so cool having in the Discord. Thank you for encouraging. Let's see. John, all I need from you is a thumbs up in chat, and then I'll shoot you a link and you can hop on. We'll just, probably make fools of ourselves. Drop a thumbs up in chat, John. Drop a thumbs up in chat. If you want to. All right. When bored, watch the Shaws scroll. Oh, that's a cool feature. Okay, so the dev container is actually pretty cool. One of the things that I got from the feature store on the dev container is just Docker alongside Docker, not to be confused with Docker inside Docker. There's so many ways to Docker. Sweet. Okay, I'm totally inviting. I just need to copy the invite link and then find you in Discord, because we're old and we're not good at doing Discord. Let's see, I can do this. Find John Harris. Haha. Okay. John, I sent you a join link so you can join the studio. And then you can do too much nerding as well. Full pressure. Still connecting to the code space. What the hell? Ah, good Lord. Fine. Okay. Yeah. So no, that is not a thumbs up, but we will tolerate your laziness tonight. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I had to schedule this before I walked away from my desk today. Otherwise, I would not have actually jumped on. The heck? Should not take that long. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to go goodbye. And then I can resize this. Yeah, super clever automated mouse pointy clicky stuff. This is not. Okay, cool. So we're going to reconnect to CodeSpace. We're looking at Kargo. And for anyone curious, the extension that lets you do this kind of stuff is the dev containers extension. So that way you can control code spaces and stuff from in VS Code. We are building the Kubevirt platform for Container Craft Labs. Let's see. That way we can virtual machine all the things, and then mostly that will be tenant Kubernetes clusters. And then actual app workloads will run inside of the virtual machines. You know, like the cloud does. There is no such thing as a healthy sprinkling of AI buzzwords. John asks, is it going to have a healthy sprinkling of buzzwords? There is no such thing as healthy sprinkling of AI buzzwords. Okay, so now we should be ready to, we'll do make login just in case. Pulumi wants us to. Good. Make kind. That'll build our Kubernetes cluster. Oh yeah. So while we wait for that super, super important question, I was mowing today. Woot woot, go me being a sort of responsible adult. It was probably like a week and a half late for mowing, but you know what? It's getting done. And so while being extremely bored mowing the grass, I thought of my own joke. It is not a good joke, so don't complain when it ends up being terrible. Some of you may have seen it on the Twitter webs already. But anyway, the question is, what is the worst sentence you can give to a convicted letter of the alphabet? You know, like a felon of the alphabet. I don't know what a felon letter would have to do to be that, but we don't ask these questions. I'm glad my humor is John approved. That's pretty cool. I'm actually going to take that as a win. Let's see. Let's see if the preview works from cold. So there's a funny thing going on in the Kubevirt deploy stuff where I should be able to do a pretty normal transformation where you would just be like transformations, and then you would, list the function that transforms your data. For some reason, I haven't got that to work yet correctly. So I ended up just downloading the YAML itself, making sure it's safe YAML syntax, and then modifying it by just removing any resources of the kind namespace. I'm supposed to be showing code. Here we go. Wow. Okay. So apparently this is a two-part joke now. I feel like, yeah, no, that's pretty good. I like it. But yeah, so on the Kubernetes YAML, I wanted to be able to create the namespace myself and not create it with the YAML that is included by default in Kubevirt operator. So we parse and skip the any resources that are namespace resources, and then take the full list of remaining resources and write them to a file, and then apply the file at its temporary path. But there is also a good, cleanup line so that we're not just dropping a ton of temporary files and forgetting that they exist. We're destroying them and forgetting they exist. Okay. So it looks like preview worked. So we're going to see if Pulumi up works correctly from cold. When I'm going through all these resources and I add another one, I try to ensure that it'll actually deploy from scratch during the refactor, because before the refactor, it was really, really messy, and the parents and the dependencies were not enumerated, and you'd have to do Pulumi up 5 or 6 times to actually get through everything deploying, and that is just not reasonable. And that also made the Pulumi destroy more difficult. And my goal is to clean up all the namespaces that are being pulled in by non-Pulumi resources, so that I can completely control that with Pulumi, and that'll get most of the way to being able to Pulumi destroy and then Pulumi up again without any trouble. Oh, yay, look at that. I need to figure out how to ban people. Where'd that come from? That came from... Oh, I got a... Let's see. I want to... No, I do not want to invite you. I want to block. Okay, cool. We had someone drop into the chat that I was not very interested in having. Okay, they are blocked. Cool. And so that was Pulumi up. So we should have... let's make another terminal, and we'll do K9S-A. Kubevirt stuff is still deploying. And there we go. Okay, so with K9S happy and our deploy from scratch happy, we can proceed on PaaS CDI, but I might want to just make sure we don't have anything else to clean up real quick. Oh, wait. Haha. I spoke too soon. I forgot. We commented that out. This is the CR that actually tells the operator to deploy some stuff. So let's see if we get past the preview now. That should just add one more resource. Nope. Weird that we'd be good to go right there and then not right there. Let's see. We're going to jump to, we don't need to worry about the depends on or the parent for this resource. I am very stumped by, let's double check. See, most of the time I can trace these out pretty easily in the files in my own source, but when it jumps up into the Python engine Pulumi code, I have not spent time in there yet. Let's see. So we have the difference between, unless it's actually, let's do this. We're going to do Pulumi export, or actually we can just do Pulumi log info and there we go. Because first I want to make sure that the URL is actually functional since we changed that version handling. Technically, I could have sped that up by disabling the refresh. So let's go ahead and grab this link, and that did download the CDI CR for me. So let's double check that one as well. Nope. And yes, so both of those resources do download successfully. Let's see if I want to. So yeah, that is the CR that tells the CDI operator what to deploy. So we have wait first consumer image pull policy if not present. Actually, probably we should change that. You know what? Instead of how about since this is just a CR, we may as well write it in Pulumi ourselves. And I'm going to be super lazy. I could copy some code from somewhere else, but where's the fun in that? And what we can do is Let's do this. So otherwise it'll give me other kinds of code, and that just makes copy paste harder. There we go. And I'm going to say just code generate program. Sweet. Now we're going to hope and pray that this works on the first try. Because why AI if not AI cheat? Let's see. So custom resource we already imported. So I could probably do without specifying that, but we'll just see how this goes. And I guess technically namespace should probably be like that. And when we flip it around to transform and remove the CDI namespace from the operator manifest, we'll switch the CDI to pointing to the namespace name instead of being hard-coded CDI. Now, will it preview successfully? Nope. Ah. Pulumi Kubernetes as kits. Why? Oh, I see. Unless, nope. Haha. So I'm not hearing much noise in chat. It's quite sad. And not callable. Why? Why must you be this way? Good Lord, I need to free up some memory right now. I'm going to close these two tabs that are playing the live stream. And that should at least help. Now will you work? I think we have a winner. Yes. Okay. So we're going to do Pulumi up. YOLO. Real hard. What? It was literally just doing the thing, wasn't it? I'm being paranoid. Okay, so now we should be up, skip preview, refresh false, and it should just deploy. Fingers crossed. Why? What? Try setting Kubernetes master environment variable. I want to be a Kubernetes master. What the hell? Oh, I see. So we need to actually add our ops provider. Yes, depends on operator. There we go. I forgot to add the ops. See, that's part of the problem of copy pasting from an AI. It's not going to remember all the things you have to remember with your own brain. Okay. There was nothing wrong with my kube config. So to be specific, so in, for example, this config file resource, we have our ops, and we're passing the K8s provider in to actually authenticate against the Kubernetes cluster. And I was just missing that in my CDI resource definition. So if you want to see where that comes from, you jump to the main.py. We are importing our config, and then we are grabbing our kube config for the path of our, for declaring the path of our kube config. And we are setting the kind context, or the kube config context. So if you have more than one Kubernetes context, you can identify which one you're using in your kube config. And then we create the K8s provider here from the kubeconfig file path and the context. And then you can see we actually pass it in to our CDI with this K8s provider argument here. And it's kind of like passing things like that around is kind of like having flags on a CLI, because what you'll see is over here, pretend deploy CDI was our CLI command, our top level binary or whatever executable. And then we're just passing in kind of like flag arguments or positional arguments where we're saying version and the kube config, basically, is what we're passing in to the CDI deploy function. And then we should be good to go, sure enough. So it deployed our, it added our CDI resource here. And so we can go into our code. We don't need to pull that remote CDI down, CR down. So we'll delete all of that code, and we are pretty much good to continue. Sweet. All right. So we already have CDI version there. So I'm going to actually I'm going to delete the CDI version and make sure that Pulumi up still works, just in case there's something that we didn't catch in the fetch command, since adding the strip to drop the V. Cool. Okay, so we're good to go. CDI version we're saying is 1 dot. So here we go. 5.9.0. There we go. So I'm going to force add the CI stack, and then Pulumi source containerized data importer deploy. Make sure there's nothing else in here I want to clean up. Not right now. Cool. And that way, code is pushed for getting CDI working. And you can see the CDI deployments here. So that will be fun. We might be testing a virtual machine pretty soon. Okay, so if we've done our, let's see, what was our plan today? We were going to do CDI, host path, and Multis. So let's go ahead and move on to cluster network add-ons operator. That is actually how we pull in Multis. Let's see. Cluster network add-ons operator. Oh, that's right. Okay, so we were running into a little bit of funny trouble getting Multis and Cilium working correctly together. So we're going to do this a little bit at a time, starting with CNAO. So that's cluster network add-ons operator, and it's a way of deploying quite a few different network add-ons. I guess it's all in the name. So let's see, we have our deploy.yaml here. And for this one, there's quite a few things that can be declared. Oh, and actually, I remember now. So one of the reasons, nope, I only remember part of the reason. One of the reasons I stuck with deploying Multis without the rest of CNAO is, or separately from CNAO, since you can deploy it Multis through CNAO, is that Multis was needing a transformation. I wonder if I can find it here. Let's take a look. There it is. Okay. So I needed to write a transformation. Let's see. We're jumping into, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so specific to Talos Linux, we have to patch run netns, which is like namespace stuff, and we have to patch it to var run netns. So with Talos Kubernetes, most of the OS is read-only, and you actually have to go in and make sure that all of your deployments and stuff are correctly coded to do any like host disk directory creation or file writing to the var partition. It's one of the only ones, I think there might be something in boot that's writable, but one of the only ones that is writable in the entire OS, which is actually pretty cool because that can mitigate somewhat from unknown drift in your OS on Kubernetes nodes. But that is why we actually had to deploy Multis separate from cluster network add-ons operator, because there's no way for me to go into the operator and declare a patch for the host path of all of our containers in Multis to tell it where to actually go and find the containers that it needs to mount things into. So we will get to Multis after we polish up CNAO. And apparently my Bluetooth might be dying. And I've got 16 and 11%. So we've been running for an hour. We'll probably quit when my headset dies. Let's see. So here in the CNAO, we are iterating over a list of manifests. And I do suppose, I have all kinds of stuff to work on for CNAO. Getting as far as Multis might be a tad bit ambitious, but that's okay. So there's a few things here that I want to do. One, I want to dynamically look up the CNAO version if I haven't supplied it, like we've been practicing elsewhere in the code base. I also want to manually create my namespace because I want control in Pulumi over the namespace itself. Then the CRDs can deploy and the operator YAML. So for that, let's go ahead and copy in the namespace creation from Kubevirt deployment. So I created a reusable function for building a namespace. You can see that in Pulumi source lib namespace.py. We have this create namespace function. And we're passing in several different things, and we'll take a look at those. First off is the namespace resource itself. So this is what all of the code builds up to. We are adding in finalizers like this, and I honestly need to learn more about Kubernetes finalizers, but we are, myself and a good friend are working on some GitOps with Pulumi your way to CKA study material. So I should actually probably know more about finalizers soon. But in addition to that, we are taking and we're writing our own default labels and default annotations. I'm not populating anything in annotations yet. But for labels, any namespaces we're creating, they are going to have the CCIO v1 app Kargo label, so that we can identify namespaces created by the IaC pretty easily. And then what we're doing is we're appending custom labels to our default labels that we pass in through arguments. So kind of like earlier, we said that a function like this one that we're importing into other parts of the Python code, it's kind of like if you're used to CLI tools, you run your CLI binary and then you pass in different flags or positional arguments. And in this case, we're starting with the name of the namespace that we're deploying. We're defining a couple of Booleans about retaining and protecting the namespace so that Pulumi knows what to do when you do Pulumi destroy. And then we're passing in the Kubernetes provider so that, again, it can authenticate against the Kube API. Then we're passing in custom labels and custom annotations and finalizers so that it can finish appending. Interesting. I need to clean up my finalizers code, so that it starts matching the merging custom with default. But I guess that wouldn't really work. I might need to do finalizers defaults to empty and then pass in finalizers from each place where I call a function. That would work. Well, anyway, let's see. So enough talking about it. Let's write the code. So for example, this is how I'm actually using it in the Kubevirt code space. So this is 19 lines. We're going to yank. And then we're going to drop that in here, which means we need to add I'm not intending to add any labels to CNAO namespace. And we're going to do, we should start by looking to see what we're actually going to write. Namespace.yaml. So we are adding cluster monitoring to true to labels. So I guess technically if I come in here and I go like this, okay. So that's probably only valid on OpenShift, but in the event that we deploy on an unlicensed version of OCP, which runs for like 30 days, just fine. We will have the right labels already. So it looks like this namespace doesn't really have much else going on. We just need to make sure we get the namespace name correct. So we'll drop that down. We're going to say our namespace name. It's correct. So we're importing the namespace creation library function, setting the name, namespace retain true for now, namespace protect. We'll fine tune that stuff once I start working on Pulumi destroy and getting that to actually work correctly. Annotations, we're not adding, just the one label. So we should be good to go. So let's jump back and try. Although now I can just delete the namespace manifest from here. So we just have the CRD manifest and the operator manifest. So let's see, what else do we have? I really like that they split out the namespace manifest. Several of the Kubevirt projects, they include the namespace resource in their operator YAML manifest, and that just makes automation much less convenient. Okay, so here we are splitting out the operator and the network add-ons config names. Pulling down, let's see, file name, resource, KTML config file. The URL is the for each. And then resource name is how we actually split out the operator and cluster network add-ons to loop through those and name the Pulumi resource itself. And then after that, we're doing the custom resource here. Let's see. Might be tab. I'm going to actually also block Linux bridge because I'm not even sure that's going to necessarily be applicable. 7. Because Linux bridges on Talos might need to be all set in the Talos machine config, which we are going to code up in Pulumi. I was talking with Ringo about that in the Hawaii retreat. I have quite a bit of test code in here for defining the network attachment definition. This stuff needs to switch. Trying to think. Actually, being the BR0, that is our default bridge. So the question is placement. Okay, so these are affinity things we're going to use when we get to double checking the single node and multi-node deployment. That's going to be CI stuff we test for later. So let's go ahead and see how far we are. I don't have the version yet, but we'll just see if we got the namespace and the resources deploying correctly, and then we will build in the version code. Okay, so it looks like, oh, actually I wanted to delete the CDI. We can open that back up later. We're going to do, yes, and the message that I'm getting rid of is deploying operator from. Okay. I'm not using that log for debugging the URL anymore. So we're good. Let me preview. That's not what I meant to hit. I hit the wrong hotkey. Are your keys hot? Sorry, I'm being nuts. It's getting late. Need more caffeine. I'm kidding. Yes. Yes, John. We will parameterize the version. I'm sure the code would actually work before we, change more stuff. Okay, so now we're going to jump to, we're actually going to do the version similar to the Kubevirt stuff because we are going to use GitHub releases. And I would totally write a library function to pull GitHub releases regularly, except, ooh, we have someone new on the Discord. Hello. Let's see. You know what? Your comments are taking a long time. I am not practiced. Actually, hang on. If you are displeased with the amount of time it takes us to return your call, your your message. You are welcome to join the studio for the live stream and help moderate our lovely audience's comments. And that should help improve our SLA. By the way, I didn't commit to an SLA, so, you know. Let's see what we got. For anyone watching, that was actually funny. Just John and I have extremely dry sense of humor. Let's see. It's a good thing John is a mixologist. Otherwise, wait, actually you can even have drinks dry, can't you? That's dumb, by the way. Okay, so we're doing our head on task. Use the brain. We're gonna grab 11 lines. Yeah, and then we're gonna jump over here and we're gonna say if version is none, which also means we're going to need shiznets version. Ooh, Pulumi bartender library. Actually, I like this plan. Oh wait, I'm just sitting here like coding and you're looking at my beautiful side profile. I'm kidding. I'm like slouching in my chair. It's rather okay. I want to get CNAO done before I call it quits. But this will require focus. Our chances are slim. So we should only need to change a little bit here. And we're going to Kubevirt containerized data importer for Kubevirt cluster network add-ons operator. And I don't feel like typing that much. So we're going to yank it. Yes, if you do not have Vim muscle memory, I'm not saying you have to learn Vim, but there's a super cool thing. Let's play with it. Because I just said I am feeling the pressure. So obviously it's time for a distraction. Vim Adventures. I forgot what it was called. Yay, Google. Press any key to start. Haha. That's right. We're gaming. Okay, so K moves you up. J moves you down. H moves you left. L moves you right. I have no idea. Hooray, I can't believe it. The shadowy cursor has come at last. Soon the old prophecy will be fulfilled. Oh dear. Old prophecy. Let's see what we get. Okay, so I need to go talk to the person. So we're gonna go through this one-way path. LLL. Now I need to go up, so I'm gonna do a K. Yippee. Okay. The person is like saying yippee in my headphones. I'm not just being dumb. L moves you right. This is correct. L moves you right. You know what? We do not ask questions. We just accept. So there's a built-in help system in this game. If you never need full explanation, just type. Okay, so this is actually pretty great. You use the colon and type help, not helm. Wow. And then you get, oh yeah, by the way, this is scrolling up and down with Vim keys. So it's JK. J scrolls down, K scrolls up, and that is how you read all of the instructions. Okay, so just as it is, Vim Adventures is a fun way to learn Vim. And there is the link. Okay. Distraction was fun. Let's get serious. All right. 9:36. Can I finish before 10? Yes. Yes, we will deploy it before 10. Into prod. Looks like I need to import requests. There we go. And let's see. Hopefully this gives us, we don't want CDI. We're going to turn this into, see, this is why I should stop hard coding things. CNAO. And then we will be able to jump in here and go like this. 0. We're going to say version. Oh, we got to do this as an F string. There we go. The F string just tells Python that we are doing variable substitution. And we're going to use the version that is either defined manually through here. And we need to jump back to main.py so that we can say that we're going to do a version here. Which means we're going to need to say but CNAO version is going to be and then we're also going to do there we go. So we have our example configs written, but we don't want the B because don't quote me on that, y'all. We're all adults here. Let's see. Okay, so we have deploy CNAO version provider. Deploy CNAO is not imported. So I probably still have that deactivated. Multi CNAO. So source, cluster network add-ons, deploy, import, deploy, CNAO. All right. Okay, this is dumb. I can't make up my mind. Naming things is hard. There we go. Okay, so another one of those really cool Vim tricks. So like if you do shift and then the pound sign, it will do pattern matching. And then you can switch around, dance around with N for next or shift N for previous because that makes sense. Okay. So we have version now, and by default, we're going to do, oh yeah, we're going to need to do, so if enabled, we're going to look up the version. We're going to do, actually, we're going to have to do version CNAO. Yeah. So that is how we're going to grab the CNAO version, and then we'll default to none so that if version CNAO is none, then we'll pull it into this positional argument. So here we have position 0, position 1, and here we have position 0, position 1. So that's how the version correctly maps to this version parameter we have here. So then if version is none, which by default it is none, then it'll go through and it will pull the latest from GitHub releases latest. If the tagging scheme is the same, then we should be pretty okay with this code just recycled from the Kubevirt releases latest. And then we can do using CNAO version setting version to latest. Okay, so in theory, our version stuff should be functional now. I thought I got rid of that deploying CDI operator log. Did I not save the file? Okay. So it looks like we want to do, is it not? Oh, do we have this enabled by default or false? We do not. Okay. In fairness, we should probably just split up. It's not me, it's you. I'm kidding. We should probably just split up CNAO and Multus and have them be separate. That way we can debug them separately, since that's probably going to happen anyway. And we might not always be doing CNAO. We might try to slim it down to just Multus. Okay, let's see. We're going to do for YY. There we go. There. Now we are just working on CNAO. Eventually, we'll pull all these comments out of the code and turn them into real documentation for the ContainerCraft website. But right now, the ContainerCraft website is it even up anymore? Hey, look, it works. Okay, right now it's just a really terrible DocuSource website, sadly. However, we will bring that online as well. Okay. So we have CNAO ready to go, I think, because we have enable and disable set. It's disabled by default, and then we have, we don't want this to be Multus. We want this to be CNAO. Oh, there we go. And then version there. Now we should be good to I think CNAO enabled true. Okay. Now let's see what we get. Truly, there should be bugs in the code. I mean, come on. There must be. Oh, that's one thing we need to do. Actually, I need to turn these into whoa, how is that even working anyway? Surely it's not. Okay, so for one thing, yes. So for one thing, that. For another thing, we need to make sure. Ooh, it's missing that too. Okay. Depends on. You know, I'm probably better off not iterating over that list anymore. And I'll tell you what, CNAO is giving me a run for my money today. So let's do this. What? It was never closed. We have unfinished business. I need to get rid of the sample code really bad. So that should close it. No, that just closed. Oh, uh-huh. There we go. Okay, so it seems to be, I need to disable refresh again. Cool. And then a CNAO version. Zero dot 79.5. Ha, see, and now we have the latest version and we didn't even go look at the releases. So now if we run it again, it should go even faster, especially if we turn off refresh. So in refresh, the refresh true flag just basically tells Pulumi to double check that all state of each resource created is actually aligned with the IaC and what it is currently, and the state described by the IaC itself. Okay, so that works, but now we're going to go ahead and break up unless I just make them both. So I can go in here and then I can be like this, and then it can be like that for starters. And then also there. Let's just try that. And then that should correctly nest those resources as children of the CNAO namespace. And then here I can do the same thing. Wait, ops I have right here. There we go. Sorry. For the scrolling. Scrolling. Keep those lines a scrolling. Sorry. Not sorry. I'm not sorry at all. Okay, so we have version, we have parent set up. We have opts added in, and it looks like it is correctly nesting everything. So let's do Pulumi up, skip preview, refresh false, and if this works, we will call it a day. Fingers crossed. Please, 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 please. I can't wait. Hopefully there's no duplicate namespace stuff because we got rid of that manifest. I'm nervous. I don't trust the system. I don't trust the system. Are you kidding? I work in systems. Okay, and there we go. So let's go ahead and check out. Looks like our CNI is loading, pulling images, no doubt. And there we go. All right, so thanks for hanging out with me today. We got into the code and we played with quite a few things. Most of it was all just consuming YAML manifests that are published on GitHub releases. We did some fun iteration over URLs. We wrote in some of the parent and dependency lines so that Pulumi correctly maps out what resources belong where and how to correctly go about destroying them. We're not testing our destroy commands just yet, but that will come. We'll get into that when we are done actually getting all of the deploy to work. Then we made sure that versioning overrides can be supplied in CNAO and in CDI correctly. We rewrote one of the remote resources for CDI as a Pulumi config file resource locally so that it doesn't actually have to work with that remote. And there wasn't anything special with the CR itself, so I'm not expecting that to change a lot. We don't really need to worry about maintaining that with upstream. So overall, I think that was a pretty, I think that was a pretty cool. Actually, let's do this real quick. I want to see. So if we come in here and I say, I want to actually see what this looks like in the web UI. We'll look at that just real quick. And because I want to see how things map out visually now. So for starters, we have our resources for this whole stack, and we're only about half of the way through. I want to see where the resources are in a graph view. Haha, that is so cool. Okay, so if you actually want to see how the IaC maps out, you can see Kubevirt namespace contains all these resources. We have, it looks like network add-ons config actually. See that? It's actually really helpful to look at it that way, I guess. If I come in here and I go, nope, the parent namespace is already on there. Did I do Pulumi up again after that? Well, anyway, problems for another day. You can see that the, oh, there it is. That makes sense. So CNAO namespace contains our CRDs, of course, and then our network add-ons config, and then the NADO operator deploys all of these resources. That does map out correctly. Our cert manager namespace carries, so this is actually really cool. So cert manager has our Helm release, and then I also create an entire chain of trust for a cluster self-signed issuer, so we can write any self-signed certs that we want. And then here I have containerized data importer. I might not have, oh yeah, that's right, because we need to wait until we have a patch for the namespace. Then you can actually go and click on, say, the resource that you want to look at specifically, and you can see exactly what all of the resource itself looks like, how it's all configured, things like that. So just another fun way to kind of look at what you've built with Pulumi, if that's what you've done. And otherwise, thank you all for sticking around. I hope to be doing this a little bit more frequently. We might kind of mix it up and do some of these live streams during daylight hours as well. We'll just kind of see what works out best for the audience that likes this kind of stuff. And I look forward to hearing from you all in Discord, on Twitter, and just around in the community. So, ciao.